Well, good morning. Nick Collier here. It's Sunday morning and it stopped raining and it's a little crisp out. It's a wonderful late autumn day. And we're going to continue with our project. I went into town yesterday and bought 10 of these 3/8 course bolts, 2 inches long. Well, this one is a 2 1/4 because they didn't have 10 2-inch ones. They had 8, so I got 2 extra long ones. I may have to thread them up a little bit, but probably not. I'll just cut a little bit off of the ends and square them up in that way. So we're going to drill our hole in the block and then come back in and drill our hole in the plate, and that's a 5/16 hole, which is the threaded hole. And then come back and we'll drill a 3/8 hole in this block and then thread the bottom part. And then we're going to come in, of course, and my brain is not working this morning. We're going to cut a hole with a mill bit and bottom it out so that this bolt head gets below the top surface here. So that's what we're doing today, and who knows how long that's going to take, but stick with us. We're going to have some fun. And since we're here, we'll go ahead and tap that 3/8/16. Okay, now let's find a collet that's going to fit it. There we go. Oops. Pull out the old one. Now, I don't want to tighten that collet too much because I know at some point or another this thing's going to spin, and I want it to be able to spin freely. Now we're going to slow this thing down to our slower speed, get a little bit of goop on there, and let her go. Now, we can bring it back out. And do the rest by hand. We got a nice straight hole going, so the rest by hand is no problem. You know, even though this whole thing sits pretty tight on this plate, it's still a bit precarious. So I think what I'm going to do is save myself the effort all the way to the end. So I'm going to drill all my holes, get the tap started in each hole, then take it off the plate and run the tap in. Okay, temporarily, just to make sure that we're totally locked in and this isn't going to move anywhere, we've put this bolt in here and just kind of brought it down. We haven't countersunk it or anything like that. We're just kind of, it's just sitting there. So, but it's got everything pretty solid. So now we can spin this up and take it down. All right. So now that we've got our second hole, we can make it bigger, take it up to the 5/16 size. And hope that the collet's going to come out. Yep, it'll come out. And I'm thinking, since we're here, I'm betting we can just drill this thing straight out without any messing around. Let's see if we can get this thing to come up just a little bit. And we want to go within about a ½ an inch of the top. Let's just put ourselves a mark on it. Good. Take ourselves back to 1.5 inches. Okay, so we've got all of our holes drilled. Now we should go in and drill out our 3/8 down to this level here, but I'm not sure I'm gonna do that. Might be a good idea. And then we got to come back and countersink our holes. And since we know exactly where this hole is, we can just bring this out a little further and drop it down till we get to where we actually want to be, which is about right there. And take our little channel lock here, and there's our stop. Now let's make sure we're good and tight so nothing slips. Check it one more time. That's pretty good. Bring this back into 0. 9, 6, 3, 2, 1, 0. Almost 0. There we go. Now, go ahead and crank that up. Take it down. Okay, that's good. Now I want to come back in and go ahead and countersink these. Let's do that. First thing we want to do is measure our head and see what size countersink we're going to need. We're going to have to go to 550 at least, and then that's a tight fit. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're getting ready to countersink. I've done the one just to get everything set up, and so now we just go and continue doing it with a bottom or a end mill. Okay, so we've got all the holes cut, or all the countersinks cut but this one, and what we're going to do is come in, take this thing apart, and thread all of the holes, and then come back and then put the bolts in, and then come back and countersink this one hole when we're done. Okay, so it's time to figure out where exactly this cable is going to land up in this area here. So the way I'm going to do it is take a big carpenter square and find my basic squareness there, and then take a small machinist square, or more accurate square, let's put it that way. And we've got our line right there. Now we'll go and strike a couple of lines across here, and we'll know that the inner part of the cable is going to land there. Now the cable is 3/4 of an inch, so we want really to go to 3/8 of an inch. So that would be 1 to 3/8 of an inch, and that would be right there. And that's going to be our direct center of the cable. So now if we take our adapter flange, oh yeah, no, I screwed up. So because this thing sits a little bit higher off the table than the forward side, I think what we have to do is put a couple of parallels under there to get a nice square surface. I mean, you know, probably wouldn't be any big deal, but now that we've put a bunch of lines in that, I think I want to get some Dicom and color it. Just so we know where our final line is. We'll let that dry for a minute, and we can come back to that in a few. I know we're much further down on the totem pole, you might say. We're just going to take a file here, take 2 files and just lay them in here just for fun while we're waiting for that dye to dry out. And we're going to bring it forward. Now we're still sitting a bit over this front edge, but not so far that it's a problem. I think just eyeballing it, that's about where we want to be, right there. And so we're about 1/4 inch over that front edge, which is no big deal. Because most of the weight is going to go right in this circle. There's another fitting that fits inside of this circle, and the cable fits inside of that, and that's what pulls on the cable. So, are we dry yet? No, it's a cold day. All right, well, we'll come back in a few minutes with this one. All right, so we're going to take our measurement again and see how far off we were. Yeah, by about 1/8 of an inch or so. That's not too bad. And there's our line. So then we want to take 3/8 from there. One, 2, 3/8 would take us right into that little corner there. That's center. Center of the cable. We'll double check that, make sure we're good. Looks good to me. Now we bring this in, and I think what we need to do is mark our, let's put a little Dicom on the side here, and we could probably just use a pen. There's our center line. Let's bring it around to the other side here. That looks good. Now we'll come over and we'll drop this in place and put a couple of bolts in here so that they know where they're going. Oops, these are the wrong bolts. We don't have to do anything but just kind of get them down into the holes. If we can get them into the holes. Okay, there's one. Alright, that's nice and snug. I'm thinking we're going to have to get rid of this one. No, maybe not. We just come in like this. Transfer our measurement up to there. Transfer this measurement. And let's make a little line here, or a mark. All right, we're going to turn this a little bit so we can see it. I can't see it. Now, let's do it again. Transfer this measurement up. And then transfer that one across. And that's where our center is. Now, we bring this over so that it centers on that. So we're still kind of hanging out over the edge there, but I think it's going to be fine. So then we find center between this, and it's 5.5 inches. Yes. So that would be 2.5 1/4. Let's just take it right over to where we want to be. 2 3/4 would take us to center. And let's get a nice little center punch in there while we can, just so that we know where it's at. A little bit more over. There we go. Okay. Now, from there, we're going to want to measure our hole, and it's exactly 2 inches, so we want a 1-inch radius, which will be easy. 1-inch radius. And let's go ahead and DICOM this because it's going to be a fair amount. All right, there's our 1 inch. That sits right there. And then we just cut a groove out of that. We will come back soon.